All right, let's kick things off with a big idea. What if I told you that being good with money has almost nothing to do with how smart you are and everything to do with how you behave? Today, we're going to dive deep into the psychology of money. And trust me, it's going to flip a lot of what you think you know about finance on its head. You know, most of us are brought up to think that money is a math problem. It's all about numbers, right? Spreadsheets, complex equations, finding that perfect formula. The thinking is, hey, if I can just get the numbers right, if I can just master the spreadsheet, then I've mastered my money. But the reality, it's a lot messier. It's so much more human than that. The biggest money decisions you'll ever make, they don't happen on a calculator. Nope, they happen around the dinner table or late at night when you can't sleep. They're driven by things like ego, pride, fear, and your own personal history. And that right there brings us to the absolute core idea of this whole explainer. It's this: money isn't math, it's psychology. This is so important to get. I mean, you could be an absolute genius with numbers, a total financial wizard, but if you can't control your emotions, you are going to have a really tough time. At the end of the day, how you behave with money is way more important than how smart you are. Okay, so if behavior is king, where does it even come from? Well, our money decisions are shaped by something really personal, something we could almost call our financial DNA. Just take a look at this. It shows how much your birth year can shape your entire view of money. Think about it. If you grew up in the 70s and watched the stock market go up 10 times, investing probably seems like a total no-brainer to you, right? But what if you grew up in the 50s when the market just didn't move? You'd probably be way more cautious about stocks. And here's the key: neither of you is wrong. You're just products of completely different worlds. Which leads to this quote from Morgan Housel that just nails it. People do some crazy things with money, but no one is crazy. Your money decisions make perfect sense to you based on your experiences, on the world you've personally seen. What looks totally nuts to me might be the most logical thing in the world to you. No one is crazy. All right, let's shift gears and talk about two of the most powerful and honestly most overlooked forces in all of finance. I like to call them the invisible engines: time and luck. Check out this number: $81.5 billion. That is an insane amount of money. And what's crazy is that that's how much of Warren Buffett's fortune was earned after he was already in his mid-60s. This isn't just about him being a great investor. This is the wild, almost magical power of compounding, doing its thing over decades and decades. And to really hammer this point home, look at this comparison. You've got Warren Buffett, and then you have Jim Simons. Now, Simon's arguably a better investor in terms of pure returns. I mean, 66% a year is just unbelievable. But Buffett is worth almost 4 times as much. So what gives? Simple. Buffett started investing when he was 10 years old. He gave compounding a multi-decade head start. So yeah, Buffett's skill is investing. No one's denying that. But his real secret, his superpower, it's time. He was just patient and let his money work for a very long time. Now, what about that other invisible engine, luck? And you can't talk about luck without talking about its twin, risk. The story of Bill Gates is just perfect for this. Of course he was brilliant, but he also had a 1 in a million stroke of luck. He went to one of the only high schools in the entire world that had a computer back in 1968. But look at his friend, Kent Evans. Just as smart, right there with him. He could have been a co-founder of Microsoft, but he experienced the other side of that 1 in a million chance, a tragic mountaineering accident. Same place, same talent, but luck and risk dealt them completely different cards. So, okay, we've talked about these big external forces. But you know what? The real battle, the hardest one, is usually the one that happens right inside our own heads. So let's get into it: winning the investor's mind game. Ever wonder why bad news and pessimism seem so powerful? Well, our brains are literally hardwired for it. A big, sudden drop like this, it screams for our attention. It lights up all the fear circuits in our brain. Meanwhile, slow, steady growth, it's kind of boring, right? It just hums along in the background. Even if it leads to way bigger gains over time, we're programmed to pay more attention to the sudden, scary stuff. So if growth is so quiet, how does it actually happen? Well, it's driven by something called tail events. Now, this concept is super important, but it's also a little weird to wrap your head around. It basically means that a very small number of events are responsible for the vast majority of the results. A few huge winners pay for all the losers. Venture capital funds are maybe the best example of this. A VC firm goes into it knowing that most of their investments, maybe 80% of them, are going to fail or just break even. They don't care because they also know that one or two absolute home runs, that tiny 1% slice, will make so much money it covers all the losses and then some. And once you see it, you start seeing it everywhere. Think about it. Buffett has owned like 500 stocks, but only about 10 of them made most of his money. Amazon's growth, it was pretty much all driven by two tails, Prime and AWS. Heck, even a comedian's Netflix special, you're just seeing the 1% of jokes that killed. You're not seeing the 99% that bombed in tiny clubs over years of practice. It's all about the tails. Okay, so what does this all mean for us as regular investors? It means that getting good returns isn't free. There's a price you have to pay. But it's not just in dollars and cents. The real price is emotional. It's staring volatility in the face, feeling that fear and uncertainty, and having the guts to not panic and sell when everything looks terrible. And all of this leads us to our final and maybe the most important question of all. What's the point? What is all this money stuff actually for? Let's talk about the true meaning of wealth. First, we have to get this straight. There is a huge difference between being rich and being wealthy. Being rich is easy to see. It's the $100,000 car, the giant house. It's visible because it's about spending money. But being wealthy, that's invisible. It's the money that you didn't spend. It's the assets you have in the bank quietly working for you. Real wealth is the stuff you can't see. So what's the goal of building up all that invisible wealth? It's not to buy more fancy stuff. It's to buy the single most valuable thing there is, freedom. As the saying goes, the highest dividend money pays is the ability to control your time. And that's not just some nice-sounding idea. It's directly linked to happiness. Research shows that having control of your time, being able to do what you want, when you want, with who you want, is a way better predictor of happiness than your salary or how big your house is. It's that feeling of waking up in the morning and knowing, I am in control of my day. Which really brings it all back to one simple but powerful question you have to ask yourself. What is your money really for? Because ultimately, it boils down to this choice. Are you using your money to build a lifestyle that just looks rich to other people? Or are you using it to build a life that actually makes you wealthy, giving you that ultimate prize of controlling your own time? Definitely something to think about.